Hello everyone, welcome to our virtual program for Refugee Solidarity Week. We are excited to meet you this year to celebrate the contribution of refugees to the United Kingdom and encourage a better understanding between communities. This year we will hold art and music performances, poetry as well as film and book reviews. We will have Becky Dell from the World Choir and Moses Seitler from Refugee Education UK as our guests. We are going to start with a short art performance followed by our interesting talk with Becky. Hope you enjoy the programme.
Hi everyone, I'm here today with Becky Dell once again in our second year of the Refugee Solidarity Week. She was with us last year as well. We're interviewing her for the second time ever. Hi Becky.
Hello, lovely to be here again.
So nice to see you, Becky. So nice to see you again. So could you introduce yourself to us once again?
Absolutely. My name is Becky Dell. I'm the musical director of the Citizens of the World Choir. We are a choir for refugees, displaced people, migrants and allies.
Do you want to give a bit more details about the choir maybe?
Yeah, of course. We're based in London, although of course in this Zoom year, in this COVID year, people have been joining us from all over the country, which is amazing. We have about 50 members in our choir, representing 28 different countries from around the world. So we truly are, representative of lots of different countries, and we are truly citizens of the world. The choir's been going 4.5 years now. We started in 2017 in response to the refugee crisis over in Calais, and it came about from a group of volunteers and an amazing guy called Lord Roberts at the Houses of Parliament deciding to set up a choir for the people who were already over here, who were refugees, displaced people in this country. And it's just been the most incredible 4.5 years. We've just had
so incredible,
such a roller coaster of a journey, but it's been incredible.
I think so too. I wonder, how can joining a choir be helpful and contending for refugees?
We were just chatting to someone about this morning, actually. There's a lot of evidence that shows doing music or art or dance, anything creative, really sort of helps repair your synapses in your brain when you've been through trauma. And obviously lots of our members have PTSD, have trauma. I think, it helps healing through the power of being in a group of people and being with a community. And then music, I think specifically, I'm a musician, so I'm going to say this, but music is great for lifting the soul, for forgetting everything else and just being present in that moment and focusing on the thing that helps, that brings you joy. And as a musical director, I get to see people's faces and I get to see their faces filled with joy, which is a wonderful thing when you know people have been through so much trauma.
I remember last year I had asked you about how what music's role was on peace building, and I still remember your answer to this day.
What did I say?
You just said that, especially like in a country that people were coming from bad places, from especially like the refugees and asylum seekers, people from coming from bad backgrounds, or people that maybe had a conflict between each other, or nations that maybe had a conflict between each other, them coming here together, all with their differences. You said that it played a very, very big role in peace building. It was so nice. And how does the choir bring people together?
So our choir, we decided right at the beginning, was going to be a 50-50 mixture of refugees and allies, because the community integration part to us was so important. And I know it's a bit cheesy to say, but we do truly think of ourselves as a community, as a family. And like I say, we've got 28 different cultures and countries represented. And you should see us when we're hanging out or walking down the street or at rehearsal. And sometimes people sort of do a double take, particularly if they're not expecting us, because we are just so diverse and eclectic. And I love that. We're challenging people's perceptions and stereotypes. So yeah, I think when you're bringing people together through something that's really positive and uplifting, it removes some of the barriers that people have, because the reason people are there is to sing music, is to make music. And so that's very freeing for everybody to be in that space just to make art.
Definitely. I asked this question last year as well, and it was, what is one thing that the choir has taught you? But what is the one thing that the choir has taught you this year, in the last year?
Really good question. I think I'm constantly amazed at people's resilience. For everybody in the world, let's just look at the UK. For everyone in the UK, COVID has been hard this year. You know, we've had 3 lockdowns, lots of people have lost jobs and money. It's been, you know, very stressful and hard, and we've all had to readapt. But for our choir members who were refugees or displaced people beforehand, or migrants beforehand, they've already had a lot to cope with. And then they've had COVID on top. And I was just saying to you earlier, we were having a quick chat before this, I was saying that actually we've doubled the number of rehearsals that we normally do this year, because we wanted to make sure our community was really well supported and nurtured. And it constantly amazes me how many people turn up to our Zoom rehearsals every week. And people do, and they're resilient and they're strong and they are incredible. And that's always such a, you know, inspiring thing to see.
Definitely, it's very inspiring to hear. Yeah, what is one thing that makes you really happy about working with refugees and asylum seekers and different people from different backgrounds?
How much they've taught me. I have learned so much, and the whole of the management team and, you know, the allies would say that we have all learned so much from being around different cultures, you know, learning about politics and geography and history and food and art and culture and clothes. Like the world is vast, and there is so much to learn. I love learning new things. You know, I think people often feel that we finish learning when, you know, when we're 21 or 22 and finish our degree. And for me, it's, I want to spend my whole life learning, because there is so much to learn. And working with different people from different cultures, you get to learn from them. So that's been such a gift to all of us.
Is there something you have learned through the members that has been stuck to your daily life right now?
Just because it happened a couple of nights ago, I went for dinner with one of my friends who's Iranian, and she bought me the most incredible, I love them so much, like these Iranian pastries filled with sweet cream. So right now that's at the top of my mind. But you're probably after something more deep than, you know, pastry products. Pastry products are important too.
Yeah.
But, you know, any cultural exchange is absolutely incredible. We've actually just recorded an EP in lockdown, which has been amazing. So over the last 6 months, we've recorded just using Zoom and WhatsApp. It's been amazing, and it comes out on Bandcamp on the 18th of June. So we'll send you some links to that. And just seeing people's different contributions to that is so incredible and creative and joyful and fascinating, just seeing how different people, you know, we have stimulus that we respond to. So Tom the composer says, can you tell me, you know, what you think about where you've come from, or your favorite animal, or describe, you know, an emotion or a place. And it's just fascinating seeing different people's creative responses to that. So I'm constantly amazed by that.
That's so amazing. You said that your rehearsals, they doubled this year, and I had a question asking, how has the quarantine affected you and the members of the choir?
It's been hard, you know, being a choir in a year where singing is a dangerous sport. It's been hard, but we've adapted to it because that is what we do, and we're good at that. And again, I think if you're dealing with people who've been through so much, you know, having to leave their home through persecution or war, or, you know, other reasons, when something like COVID happens, you're like, well, the giving up is not an option. So then we like finding a solution is the only option. So that's what we're going to do.
I'm very, very sure the choir has been one of the things that has kept the members and so many people up during these hard times that we all had, which is amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we just wanted to make sure that that community and that support network was going to be there during this time. So yeah, we've doubled the number of rehearsals.
And how could our audience, if they would like to join the choir, asylum seekers or refugees or anyone watching, how could they join you?
Yeah, just get in touch with us. So Rachel is our membership manager, and her email address is rachel@cotwchoir.com.
You'll have your contacts in the description as well. So
Brilliant, thank you so much. And like I say, we are based in South East London, and that's where we rehearse in person every week. But we also run simultaneous Zoom rehearsals. So I sort of have my laptop and all the microphones set up. So we have about half our members singing in the room with us in person and about half joining online. And I imagine we're going to keep that going, you know, at least for the next year or so.
And
So
has it been a struggle because Zoom sometimes delivers the voice very late? How do you just like all sign? How does it happen?
yeah, so if people are joining on Zoom, they have to mute themselves and sing along at home. Yeah, I know everyone always asks that because it's a nightmare. So the people in the room, we obviously all sing together, and then the people joining on Zoom get the benefit of listening to all the lovely people singing together, and they sing by themselves at home, but they are muted.
That's good, because it's always a hassle when people are in Zoom together trying to say something. Well, since it's Refugee Week and it's our Refugee Solidarity Week, is there anything you would like to say for Refugee Week?
Yeah, absolutely. Just that know that refugees are welcome here. Know that unfortunately some of the actions of our government does not represent, I think, what most people think. The actions of our current government in 2012 are not welcoming, are not empathetic, and we are constantly looking to change that. But there are so many activists and normal people who do not agree with that. So know that you are welcome. Find the places where you are welcome, because there are lots of community groups, you know, grassroots organisations. There will be someone who will support you and believe your story and understand why you have had to you know, escape through reasons that weren't your own choice, and help you start again and make you feel welcome in this country. So find those places and those groups. They do exist, and know that you are welcome.
One of those are the choir. They're doing an amazing job. Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Becky. Thank you all for joining in. Thanks again to the amazing Becky for joining us today. It was an honor. Follow us from our social medias, and don't forget to check Becky Dell's contacts and the choir as well. Thank you all very much.
Thank you to Becky, who shared her insightful thoughts. Now we are going to have a music performance from some of our refugee volunteers, followed shortly by an inspirational talk with Moses Seitler.
Beynim tıpkı bir sorular harmanı, kafamda meşhuller cevabı sisli. Beynim tıpkı bir sorular harmanı, kafamda meşhuller cevabı sisli. Sarmış bu hüzün dört bir yanı, kalbim annemin kalbi gibi hisli. Sarmış bu hüzün dört bir yanı, kalbim annemin kalbi gibi hisli. Gezer dururum yorgun ve avare, her halim garipliğime emare. Düşüncem veda diyor bu yerlere. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, hüzünlü gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, ah zalim gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet. doğu gönlümün içinden, tasayla dolaştım bu yerlerde. Doğay güneş doğu gönlümün içinden, tasayla dolaştım bu yerlerde. Bir şarkısın o eski bestelerinde, şu hüzünlü şafakta perde perde. Bir şarkısın o eski bestelerinde, şu hüzünlü şafakta perde perde. Gezer dururum yorgun ve avare, her halim garipliğime emare. Düşüncem veda diyor bu yerlere. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, hüzünlü gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, ah zalim gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, hüzünlü gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, ah zalim gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, hüzünlü gurbet. Hüzünlü gurbet, gurbet, ah zalim gurbet.
Hello everyone, welcome to another program in our Refugee Solidarity Week event. Today we have a very special guest with us, the Youth Advocacy Project Coordinator at Refugee Education UK, Moses Seitler. Hello Moses.
Hi.
So obviously we've given a brief introduction. Could you maybe give an introduction of yourself more thoroughly?
Sure. So I work for an organisation called Refugee Education UK, REUK. We were called Refugee Support Network up until a few months ago. And we essentially provide education services to young people, refugees, asylum seekers, throughout their journey, from when they arrive to further down the line when they're looking to go to university and even postgraduate study. We do this in a number of ways: educational mentoring, where we connect volunteers with young people. We also have a mental health and wellbeing program, which helps young people who are in really difficult situations, struggling with their mental health. We have an impact program, which offers a leadership course and advocacy opportunities. And then we have a educational progression program as well, which is focused on further and higher education. And we do this essentially because we think that young refugees, like any young person really, needs a solid base and education to really set them on a path to making a success of themselves and building hopeful futures.
Yeah. So along with all these programs, where exactly you guys based these projects, and how do they work? Are they face-to-face? Are they online? Could you just explain a little bit more about it, as we will have some refugees also watching these programs who may want to be involved?
Sure. So the mentoring program happens across the country. We have quite a few hubs in London, different parts of London. We also have a hub in Oxford, one in Cambridge and Peterborough. We also have one in Birmingham. Originally, of course, it was face-to-face, where a volunteer would meet a young refugee once a week in a public place, where they would discuss homework, build their confidence, practice their English. Obviously, with COVID, we had to go online. At the moment, we are doing a bit of a hybrid, some online, some in person. It really depends on what the actual mentoring pair prefers. It's the same with educational well-being. If the young person wants to meet up and needs to meet up, then that is possible. But for some online is easier as well. So it's a mix, and yeah, we're hoping to grow and to offer more services in different parts of the country as well.
In terms of the country and society, what kind of problems exist in regards to refugees? What problems do they face once they've escaped this conflict and come to a new country?
Sure. It's interesting. Sometimes when we think of refugees arriving, we think they're going to need accommodation and clothes and money, and of course that is true, but education is really important as well. What are the type of problems that they face? Well, language is a big one. Going into a school, going into a college, not really knowing exactly what people are saying can be very difficult. So that's why language and ESOL is really important. Another really important challenge for young people is just understanding how the education system works. We run what's called educational pathway planning sessions, which basically explains to young refugees how the UK education system works, what are the stages, how to progress through those stages. Another problem is just confidence and believing in themselves. Of course, it could be terrible and very difficult journeys. We want to try and provide a really solid base and kind of tell young people that they can achieve, they have a voice. And so we do a lot of kind of youth advocacy, which is what I focus on, as well as communications and storytelling, to just kind of push them along and start hopefully to believe in themselves.
So in terms of confidence and making them feel better, making them feel involved, how can education eliminate these problems?
Well, I think the main way is just meeting with friends. Obviously, it's been difficult in COVID, but to go to school, to college, to university, of course you learn and you develop great knowledge, but you also meet people who hopefully you're going to be friends with for many, many years. So that kind of social element of things is really important. Excuse me. Another one is in education, we meet leaders, whether it's teachers or peer leaders, who we can be inspired by and led by. So that's another really important example.
I'm sure you've heard many stories from these people when you're working. So what extent do you think refugee lives are changing? Can you give maybe an example of one of the inspiring stories that you've heard or have seen yourself?
Sure. I think with these types of stories, it's really important to understand the situation. We've heard lots of terrible victim stories, and we want to tell positive stories. We want to share information and share narratives which celebrate young refugees, but we don't also want to lose sight of the fact that it is really difficult, and actually it's not all happy, and for many young refugees it is a really difficult challenge. However, I think I would bring one example of a good friend of mine and the chair of our youth advisory board is called Hamid, and Hamid arrived on his own when he was 16 from Afghanistan, and it took him a couple of years to really settle in and to belong here and feel at home here, through education, through going to college and then securing a place at Brighton University. It really it was an amazing transformation, and it was only a few years ago that he graduated with a degree in aeronautical engineering. And when he speaks at our events and when he inspires other young people and explains our services to other young people, you really appreciate the power of education to transform young people's lives. And so I think that would be one of the examples.
That really is amazing, very inspiring. In terms of these problems, the education program, what you guys do, what are your hopes for the future? What do you think you can do for refugees? What do you think the future of refugees in a country like the United Kingdom will be?
Well, the government is constantly talking about how we have this great, proud history of supporting refugees, and there may well be truth in that. I think in terms of our hope, we want to do more. We want to deepen our provision. We want to reach more refugees. The truth is, we have waiting lists. There are people who are requesting our services, and ultimately we need the volunteers. We need the funding to make sure these programs work. Perhaps in a longer term, if that's the short term, in the longer term, we'd hope that supporting refugees and listening to refugees and learning from refugees, as well as just supporting them, is a kind of long-term aspiration to kind of empower refugees to be in a situation in which they're not receiving, they're actually giving and leading us. In my role personally, I do youth advocacy, and we're obviously in a unique situation in which, the government are bringing plans which, a lot of people in the refugee sector really disagree with. And I think one aim for the future for us could be, how do we win the argument? How do we put forward the values, and how do we put forward the information which actually turns the tide and which makes people realize actually refugees are welcome in the UK, and that they are part of our communities and future citizens of the UK as well.
Definitely. For those of our viewers at home who are watching, whether it's a refugee who's come to the new country and wants to get involved, or whether it's people like us who just want to get involved, maybe help out, volunteer, how can we get involved? What can we do to help?
Sure. Perhaps the best way to help is to become a volunteer mentor. I mentioned the mentoring program. It's fantastic when refugees join, as long as they're over the age of 18, who have gone through this experience, who have settled in the UK, and who can give advice and guidance to young people. That can really help. There are other ways to get involved too. We run advocacy programs, and we want to try and push the argument forward. So when you see them, support them and raise awareness about refugee education, because it's a really crucial element of provision, we believe. Another way is to support our work financially. That might seem like a bit of a, it might not be so involved, but the truth is, our services, they work, we know the model, but we need to fund them, and that's a real challenge as well. So there are lots of different ways. Another way, by the way, is writing about refugee education. We have a very active comms team who want to publicize and advertise the idea of refugee education. And so if you're passionate about that issue and you want to get involved, whether it's running campaigns on social media or writing blogs or working with young people to create videos and films, these kind of more creative ways, working with young refugees is a really great way, not only to raise awareness, but also to develop the young refugees' confidence and sense of belonging here. So if you're curious about any of those options, drop us an email, and we'd love to work with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sparing your time with us, Moses. Are there any other messages you would like to say before we close off the interview?
I think the main message is thank you. Thank you for putting all of this together. I think this is it's been a great week. It's been a busy week, but it's been a great week in which we've really all come together. And I think my final message, I suppose, would be, the solidarity that we felt this week, let's have that next week and the week after that and the months after that. Looking forward to hearing from the people who watched your video. And again, thank you for putting the work in and the time in to bring us all together. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And hopefully, thank you guys to our viewers as well for joining us in this week, joining our programs and watching us. And hopefully we'll do this every year. But like Moses said, also every week, every month, and hopefully every day. Thank you again, and we'll close off here.
Thank you for the fabulous music performance, and to Moses for a really encouraging talk. Next, we are going to continue with a poem shedding light into immigrants' lives, and then we will share some of the films and books that inspired our volunteers on refugee lives just before we present another music performance for you.
We carry tears in our eyes. Goodbye, Father. Goodbye, Mother. We carry soil in small bags. May home never fade in our hearts. We carry names, stories, memories of our villages, fields, boats. We carry scars from proxy wars of greed. We carry carnage of mining, droughts, floods, genocides. We carry dust of our families and neighbours incinerated in mushroom clouds. We carry our islands sinking under the sea. We carry our hands, feet, bones, hearts, and best minds for a new life. We carry diplomas, medicine, engineer, nurse, education, math, poetry, even if they mean nothing to the other shore. We carry railroads, plantations, laundromats, bodegas, taco trucks, farms, factories, nursing homes, hospitals, schools, temples, built on our ancestors' backs. We carry old homes along the spine, new dreams in our chests. We carry yesterday, today and tomorrow. We're orphans of the wars faced upon us. We're refugees of the sea rising from industrial wastes. And we carry our mother tongues. Love, peace, hope, hope, hope. As we drift in our rubber boats from shore to shore to shore.
Hello everyone, so today I will be recommending you a few books and films in honour of the Refugee Solidarity Week, and I will also be reviewing some of my favourites in that list. So the books we're recommending today are The Beekeeper of Aleppo by Crystal Lefteri, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, Seed Prayer by Khaled Hussein, Refugee by Alan Grant, and our films are Human Flow, First They Killed My Father, Born in Syria, Sky and Ground, Transit, Refugee Here I Am, Welcome 2009, and Stateless. So I will be reviewing the book The Beekeeper of Aleppo because when I first read it, I found it very, very familiar to me, sadly. The Beekeeper of Aleppo is about a beekeeper family. So Nuri, the father, is a beekeeper and his wife Afra is an artist. They live a simple life, rich in family and friends, in the beautiful Syrian city of Aleppo. But then the unthinkable happens and all they care for is destroyed by the Syrian civil war. They're all forced to escape, but Afra has seen so terrible things that she goes blind. And so they need to embark on a very, very dangerous journey through Turkey and Greece towards an uncertain future in Britain. Underway, Nuri is sustained by the knowledge that his friend and cousin Mustafa is waiting for him in Britain. As Nuri and Afra travel through a broken world, they do confront not only the pain of their own unspeakable loss, but dangers that overwhelm their souls. And above all, I think the hardest thing they face is they go on a journey to find each other again. I think it's a very moving, powerful and compassionate, beautifully written book, and I think it also explains the struggles that refugees go through in a very, very raw way, so I would really recommend it to you. It's a very, very dear book to me. And the movie, the film I'm talking about today is Refugee Here I Am, which is a musical documentary, and it's based on the life of the musician Enzo Aka. He's a refugee and a renowned reggae artist living in Istanbul. He makes the first legal reggae album in Turkey, and he gives hundreds of concerts appearing in various media channels throughout the whole country. Through his music, he raises his voice and creates dialogue with various authorities. He creates awareness about those lives in hardship coming from war-torn countries and conflicted areas. Despite his growing fame, Enzo does not give up living in his small room in Tarlabaşı, which he shares with the newcoming Syrian refugees and neighbours. He composes all his songs and daydreams in that room with the determination to raise hope among the refugee youth. The documentary explores a single man's extraordinary struggle, portraying his very creative way of reaching out to the public. He transforms his life that was shaken up by war into a very, very inspiring documentary and musical. With this film, he intends to advocate that every person should be able to realize their potentials and make use of their talents and realize their dreams despite the borders. I hope you do like these movies and books. I hope you have a very nice refugee week. See you next time. Thank you.
that wraps up our program for this year. Thank you to our guests and our volunteers who participated to celebrate refugee integrity with us, and thank you to our viewers especially for watching. Please like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our social media accounts. Have a lovely refugee week.